Everyone loves stories. Storytelling connects us. Through stories, we share knowledge, spark creativity, and drive social change. It is a powerful tool for influencing minds and shaping the future. Hello, I'm Paige. I host Chizuba Talks, an engaging podcast series that shines a spotlight on the transformative work of nonprofits and the inspiring individuals behind them. I have the privilege of guiding listeners through the heart of global philanthropy, sharing compelling stories of impact, innovation, and the power of community. On today's episode, I have Mary Brotherton, the founding president of BUneke. It is spelled in a very unique way: B, capital U, N E K E, BUneke. Founded in 2018, BUneke is a non-profit media organization dedicated to making the world a better place through, you guessed right, storytelling. It highlights the efforts of nonprofits, creatives, and change makers globally using magazine, radio, and productions. It volunteers from 28 countries. It promotes positivity, creativity, and sustainability across diverse platforms. To tell you about Mary, she has a background in journalism, and her journey transformed when she co founded BUneke.org. She is a philanthropist, author, and advocate for kindness and, I must say, inspiration. Welcome to the podcast, Mary. Very happy
Thank
to
you.
have you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invitation.
Mary, you have to tell us the story behind the name, Be Unique.
It was one of those serendipitous moments. My friend and I were unhappy in our lives where we were. We both worked for places that didn't appreciate us. And we also had been volunteering for the same organization that seemed to always want us to give more, 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 but never said thank you. And even though we appreciated the organization, we felt like as individuals, we were not appreciated. So we just went together to lunch one day to get it off our chest, just to complain a little bit as women do. And we decided, why don't we do something that we're really good at? Why don't we create a magazine? Because that's what we both have done all of our lives. We've known each other together for about 15 years now.
Mhm.
And we started out in another magazine working with another organization. And we just decided now's the time for us to do something for us that we really can embrace. And so we were sitting there thinking about different ideas. What would we call it? What would catch somebody's attention? And at the exact same moment, we stopped eating, put down our fork, and said, whatever we do, it has to be unique. So we knew that the name of the magazine was going to or the organization was going to have to be unique.
Unique.
But we couldn't just spell it like a phrase. We had to come up with a unique way of spelling it. And you mentioned that it's, spelled with a capital U.
Yes.
And the reason we did that is because we want everybody who's reading the name to realize that it's all about you,
You.
the reader. It's also about the universe and our impact on it. And it's also about us as humans, how we intermingle with each other and how we create the world that we want to live in together.
Fantastic. It's a wonderful story. Now, when you say you wanted to start this magazine, did you start off by saying that, it's going to be only a magazine and it's going to take articles and stories from a select, set of people.
Initially, we thought just make it a magazine, a digital magazine, and we remembered a different magazine we had both worked on where we felt very strongly about other philanthropists or people who had worked and give, pay it forward, give it back, people who are doing something outside of themselves. So we thought and thought and thought about how we could do that and how we could focus on other charities. And then we decided we could become a charity ourselves and educate people about other charities. So what we basically do is shine a light and help other charities be seen and heard. But we also do stories that are not specifically about the organizations that have been founded specifically as charities. We work with people that are just doing good stuff to make the world a better place. One of our first stories was about a child who at that time was only 9 years old. And she created well, not even an organization, just a movement of sorts called Sammy's Buddy Benches. She was a very shy child in school, and she didn't want to be shy, but she didn't know how to get out of it. And she said, I just wish there was a way that I could let people know that I want to be their friend, but I don't know how to do it myself. So what she ended up doing was recycling plastic bottle tops, the screw off kind like you get for water bottles and other drinks. And she gathered those and recycled them, and they made benches called buddy benches.
Oh,
So
lovely.
the idea has become pretty popular now in the last 6 years, that if you are sitting on a buddy bench, you might not
Somebody,
know how to
yes,
say, I want a friend. And it's also
yes,
good if you're feeling down in the dumps and you don't know how to say, maybe your pet cat died, or your grandma may have be in the hospital or something, and you just don't know how to talk about it, but you want somebody to be your friend. Sometimes you can just go sit on that bench and have somebody come sit with you as in solidarity kind of thing.
yeah, right, right. I got it.
So
It's a
those are the
fantastic
kinds of
idea.
stories that we tell. And
Yeah.
we do print the magazine when we have the funding for it. We don't always print it, but we try to always have a
Okay,
copy, and try to
okay.
keep an updated copy on the website digitally. We
Hmm.
reached out after the first year, we started doing films, documentaries for other nonprofits and charities. And we do a podcast that's heard around the world. And then we also do events.
That's great. And you take, how do you curate your content? Is it necessarily only about community and giving, you know, or do you also have anybody who wants to contributes to the
We
magazine?
are open to contributions from anywhere around the world. I think you mentioned we have 28 countries
28
that work with
countries, yes.
us. Um, we just started posting on Instagram, and mostly on Instagram and Facebook. We post on most of the major outlets. We're not on TikTok yet. There just aren't enough of us that know how to do these things to do that. But we posted around the world. On our site, just we're interested. If you're interested in writing for us, let us know.
Hmm.
And the people just appeared. They started coming around.
They, they,
And
I'm sure because
we do have
we
a
got,
bigger percentage in the United States because that's where we're
yes,
based.
yes.
We have some writers in different parts of India. Seems interestingly, for some reason, the majority come from Bengal. And
Okay.
I'm not sure why that is, but we have had people from England and Portugal who write with us, Japan. Several from Japan are still writing for us. And one woman who's very, very active in promoting us is from the Netherlands.
Okay,
So I can't even name all the countries that work with
you
us, but
can.
it's just amazing that there's so many they read our stuff and want to be a part of it.
I'm sure, and of course, there is diversity and reach because it's coming from so many different countries. But when you say the context, for example, if you talk about India, there's a very specific cultural context to the story. So, how does the audience uh, receive such content?
Mostly they receive it online. Um, we, like I mentioned earlier, we're on 6 different major media platforms, but
Mhm.
our website is where most people end up going to read the magazine online digitally. And that's BUneke.org. So they go there and they just click and read the magazine, or they'll get the blog. We do have subscribers who get the
Right.
blog as an email. They'll get a notification that it's been released.
So when somebody contributes a story to the platform, there may be some cultural nuances which probably a wider audience might not understand. So, do you need to give some sort of explanation, or do you need to um, filter such content so people can understand in general?
It's interesting that you say that, because the short answer is not really, because most of the people who contribute to us, they have the same mentality and the same heart feel, I guess is the word I'm looking for. They seem to all go, okay, well, I know what to do. We do send out writers guidelines, which are very
Right.
simple, that tell the writers how to write for us. Um, we've
That
very,
helps.
very seldom had to edit anything out or
Is it?
try to explain it, because one of the things that we do is we ask people to include a link to the information that they're offering. So if you
Okay.
wanted to write about a a charity in your hometown, then that charity will have some way to reach out to them, whether it's a phone number or a website, a Facebook page, or an Instagram page. So as long as we've got a way to verify that that charity
Right.
exists, we will follow up and make sure that that happens. Um, we've been very fortunate in the last 6 years to have only bona fide people reaching out and trying to share the good news of other organizations. And we also do what I call opinion pieces or expert columns. We have a young man, he's probably, I have to stop and think back how old he was when he started working with us. He's probably in his early 20s now. He's an engineering student from Bengal, and he has an organization called the Green Generation. He used to call it something else, that had teens can save the earth or something like that. But he writes about
Okay.
animal conservation,
Oh,
and
nice.
he always features one animal specifically that is endangered or, um,
Interesting.
yeah, or in that he's got the information. I forget what the words are right now, but he's got all this information about these animals.
Right.
And then he
Mm.
always ends with a little message how everybody
Mm.
can do something to
Something.
help.
Mm.
And we have other people that maybe just, there's one man that we work with that is working on some self esteem issues for himself. So he writes a column from where he is. And and when I say where he is, I mean where he is mentally and
Got it. Yes,
emotionally.
yes.
So
Yes.
he helps other people because he comes up with some really profound ideas, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll share those with the world, and it helps other people realize I'm not alone. I'm not the only one who
Right.
feels this way.
let's take a break to understand what Chizuba is. Everyone at some point ponders on how this beautiful life can be made more meaningful. Maybe you're a leader trying to enhance your employees' experience at your organization. Or you already work for the community and seek volunteers with state of the art skills to strengthen your nonprofit. Whatever your situation, know that you can make a difference. Chizuba began with this very vision, a vision to facilitate every skill and every passion in the world in meeting a social need. Corporate volunteering has several benefits for both businesses and organizations. In parallel, experienced and enthusiastic volunteers join NGO workers, enabling them to serve the community more effectively. Chizuba offers everyone looking to add purpose and meaning to their lives a chance to connect or volunteer virtually with nonprofit organizations from over 100 countries around the world. Visit www.chizuba.net and explore opportunities to find meaning. Chizuba, your platform to do good. And now, back with our guest.
Yeah. I'm sure writing is a medium where a person can get the person insight to be exposed to the world in a way that is very anonymous, in a way that's very subtle. So, very interesting indeed. Mary, tell us about the collaborations that you have with companies or organizations. Do you speak about certain organizations to amplify their stories to make a difference?
We have one particular organization that's relatively local. She's about an hour from my home.
Mm-hmm.
It's a historical house. It was
Okay.
built in the 1800s, late 1800s. So basically, at the beginning of the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century, it was in danger of being destroyed. So
Yes.
this organization started a campaign to try to raise the money and save it. So BUneke filmed a movie, a little short, well, 30-minute movie called Forgotten Enchantress. And the idea behind that was that if we could use that film to raise money, then they could help purchase the house from the original owners. It was under 5 generations had lived in it, and they were all getting older and they wanted to sell it so they could retire. And this group of volunteers worked with us and we worked with them. It was a very symbiotic relationship. We created award-winning films for them, and they raised over $500,000 as a result of being able to say, if you donate $10, as little as $10,
Yeah.
then you get the link to watch this entire film.
Wow, that is so cool. That's absolutely cool. That is indeed a big success story.
That
So,
was that's my favorite one because it is such a
oh,
big story. But we
I
have
get it.
also, we've also helped with other organizations on a much smaller level because not everybody needs to save a historic home. Not everybody,
Yeah.
some people are just saving animals or feeding the homeless. Um, and we don't do any of the hands-on work of these organizations, but
Mhm.
we help others find out about them. We share their stories so that because we have a platform that allows us to do more and share it farther than they can.
I'm curious about the content as well. You did mention about conservation and saving historical building. So, do you sometimes fall short of quality content? These are one-off cases, right? Saving
No,
historical
I
building.
don't.
No, you
I,
don't.
I have a list of more than 1,600 stories that I
Oh
want to
gosh.
write, waiting. We don't have enough time. We don't have enough volunteers to write their stories. We don't have enough pages in the magazine to do them all at once. So they're on my list, and there is a little overlap because I have them in categories. So I might have 20 stories about homeless people. I might have 75 stories about domestic abuse. And I might have another 100 or 150 stories about people trying to save animals or save the planet. It depends, and I try to have a balance between like
The
self-help.
different tiers. Yes.
Mental, a lot of people don't think how important our mental health is. Self-care and self-esteem, just
Yeah.
being in touch with who you are. So we try to have as many kinds of different stories in one issue as we can. It's just I wish I had enough people to write all the stories at once, but then we'd have to start all over again. There's so many amazing people in this world that are doing such wonderful things.
Indeed. Indeed. Yes. So maybe here's your opportunity to tell on the podcast if you need volunteers and what kind of volunteers you need.
Oh, I do need volunteers, always need volunteers, and you don't have to be local. I would love to have
Mhm.
local volunteers because we do an event 3 times a year
Yes.
called MetaFest, which is
Uh-huh.
it's a tabletop vendor event where we invite other businesses to come and sell their items or promote their services. And then we also have live performances, music, and we do little workshops. So we do that 3 times a year, every 4 months. And I can always use volunteers for that. But the biggest need I have right now is for more writers who are interested in. I mean, I love having writers do their own like personal essay, um, or if you're, we've had psychologists who give like a column a month, and those are great. But I would love to have more people who want to tell the stories of these other charities because, like I said, I've got 1,600 amazing organizations that are just waiting to have their story told.
Sure. So this brings me to, when you say volunteers and people who want to write, uh, what is the role of Chat GPT? This AI that is coming up, and do you think that is of any use to you?
I will say yes and no because even if I have used ChatGPT to help me kickstart an idea, and it's great for things that um,
Or
you
mechanical, perhaps?
don't need to verify specifically. Maybe just tell me a little story about manifesting. So what it does is um, the way ChatGPT works is it has been taught or trained how to write these stories based on a pool of information. Because I've done
Yes.
some research into this. ChatGPT does not search the internet. It searches its
Mm.
own database. So if the information is in its database, it can tell you what it knows. It doesn't give um it doesn't have an opinion of its own, but it also tends to be a little overly flowery. When we're as small as we are and we're writing these short, concise stories, you don't need a lot of um,
Big words.
over the top type writing. You want clean,
Correct.
crisp writing that is factual. So,
Mm.
I actually tried. I took a topic that we've had an article written on, and it was just basically I gave it the name of an organization. I believe it was called Advocates of Love. So I said, write me a 500-word story about advocates of love. And ChatGPT wrote a story that basically was gleaned from its website. And what they did is they wrote a great advertisement for the organization, but it wasn't it didn't have that warm human
Original.
feeling to it.
Yes. Yes.
And
I understand what you mean.
so when I'm working with a writer right now who said, I can't get it down to 500 words. There's too many things to say about this organization. And I said, well, send me what you've got and I can cut it down. I'm always able to cut down to what I need, because a lot of people also tend to I call it gushy writing. They just
Okay.
put too much emotion into it. But I mean, I would say Chat GPT is really good for writing maybe policies or
Yeah.
things of that nature,
Right.
but they're not so good at writing human interest articles.
Very true. Very true. Now let's talk about your radio show, and how do you how has it become a platform for community building and spreading positivity?
Well, we have 3 shows on our radio show. I host 2 of
Hmm.
them, and a man named Tony hosts the third one. That show
Okay.
that he works on is called Unscripted, and it's our
Okay.
flagship. It was how we started the radio show about
Hmm.
5 years ago. And then we've just built. Now we have 14 shows, but only these 3 are creating new content right now. And we reach out by having it be an open platform. We don't pre-record it. We record it live and we open the channel up for callers. So that's one of the ways that we allow it to reach out to other people. And we've had people calling in from a variety of countries. Most of them tend to call in within 2 or 3 time zones. And you and I know both how challenging it
Yes.
is when you're working on the
Yes.
other side of the world.
True. So, Mary, also, have you thought? Very recently, I've been to a theater where they performed a play, and it was immersive. They asked the audience, okay, where would you like the story to go from here? And they look at the majority, and then that decides, this is where the story is going to go, and then the actors enact that. So, do you also have something like that happening on your website or on your radio show?
Well, the only way we're interactive right now is the website. Is the magazine, when it's put on, the links are live, so you can just click the link and go to it. And we sometimes have other things that are linkable. And the podcast is interactive in the fact that people can call in and speak to me or Tony and any guests that we might have about the subject at hand. Um, we don't have anything up, like live performances, but I like that idea. Um,
It's very interesting.
yes, yes,
So, there are 3 or 4 endings to the 3 or 4 ways that the story can go to. And based on that, suppose I choose story A. And then based on that, the ending also eventually slightly changes.
that's cool. I like that.
Thank you. So, that's it from me today. Thank you so much, Mary, for talking to us. For more information, please visit their website, BUneke.org, and you will understand what they do and look up some interesting stories and help out some nonprofits in the process.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we have learned from this enlightening conversation that the efforts of nonprofits, artists, and change makers around the world is not just about sharing stories, it's not just mentioning them, but it's about creating a ripple effect of inspiration and impact. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery and hope. See you all again in the next episode. Till then, goodbye.